remember doing the gig, but Steve Garvey, our original bass player, had decided that he'd rather go back to America. So we thought, well, we need to get a rhythm section. So we held auditions. Me and Steve hate auditions because everybody comes in. You've got to teach them all the things about the songs that you know instinctively, but which other people just are oblivious to. And it got to right to the final thing. And then this guy who I'd met a few times, called Tony Barber, he phoned up our manager and said, "But can I bring in a drummer and audition?" And we said, yeah, and I think they were the last ones to come along. And it was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and everything sounded perfect. It was almost like, you know, close your eyes and it was just the same as, you know, as we'd always played it. Fast Cars was a song which we did with the first line of the Buzzcocks with Howard Devoto singing. Steve had an idea for a song, he brought it along. All he had was some chords and fast cars.
I sat down on a bed with a tape recorder hanging off the wall. I went... Fast cars! Fast cars! Fast cars! I hate fast cars! Fast cars to me was the symbol of like the person in the fast car. It was like, you know, most people that were driving big fancy cars, usually, you know, kind of, you know, yeah, wankers really, like it was symbolic of their cut.
Everybody is sold the dream of a fast car, and that's what everybody wants, you know, the whole boy racer mentality. And punk was like the antithesis of that. And so the idea was that we hated fast cars, we didn't desire them. You know, they may win you admirers, but they never earn you friends. The last verse, sooner or later you're going to listen to Ralph Nader, who wrote, Ralph Nader was the lawyer, American lawyer, who wrote a book called Unsafe at Any Speed, about how all the glittery American cars in the 50s and 60s were all death traps, really. The joy of the last verse was in rhyming Ralph Nader with later. so it was like having a false rhyme in it. Sooner or later you're going to listen to Ralph Nader. I don't want to cause a fuss, but fast cars are so dangerous. So fuss and dangerous, isn't it? The two run rhymes.
Fast cars! I hate fast cars. We wanted to take it back to the streets, you know, and bring the 3-minute song back and bring the excitement back and the instant directness of it all, and to bring people alive again. I hate fast cars. When I wrote Fast Cars, I hadn't met the other guys in the band, and I was looking for a band, and I was outside the Free Trade Hall and met Malcolm McLaren, and he introduced me to Pete and Howard. And I had this song Fast Cars, they had Boredom and Orgasm Addicts, and that's how we met at the first Pistol show. I was supposed to meet somebody else, and they was expecting somebody else, but McLaren said, oh, they're in here, you know. So it's a case of misunderstanding, but we sort of got on okay, you know, like, we was kind of talking at cross purposes in terms of, I'd answered an ad in the paper, and they'd put an ad in another magazine, and I wasn't one they're supposed to meet, you know. And the guy I was supposed to meet was still outside, and the guy that they were supposed to meet was outside. So, classic Malcolm McLaren situationalist thing, you know. And from there, the next day, we plugged into an amp, all three of us, and a terrible beauty was born.
Trying as the ones find it alright for kids. But now you find out that it's a habit that sits in your charismatic. You're an charismatic. Sneaking in the back door with dirty magazines. I am mother wants to know what all the sins of your jeans. And you're an charismatic. You're an charismatic.
When we did Orgasm Addicts, of course, it was very brave on the part of United Artists because they just signed us. And they said, you can put out anything you want. And we said, well, our next one's Orgasm Addict, expecting them to go, well, we don't mean that, we don't mean anything you want. And so it said, yeah.
Orgasm Addict, you're an orgasm addict.
Went to the studio, recorded it, of course. No chance of being played on the radio, because people don't. I mean, I had swearing in things like that. I mean, because you didn't have things like that. But being punk, we weren't interested in it being acceptable to everybody. In fact, if it's acceptable to everybody, then it's not really the real thing. And so the rest of the music was in the charts. I mean, I think in like '77. I mean, if I remember rightly, that's when sort of like Saturday Night Fever, I think that was '77, '78. So, but the Bee Gees were just began their act together doing their disco sound. And it was lots of things like that. I think '76, I remember Kiki Dee and Elton John were in the charts with Don't Go Breaking My Heart.
Johnny won't fuck you always and always. He's got the energy he won't amaze. He's got all charismatic. He's an all charismatic.
And that's why punk really, I think, struck a chord with people. If there was ever a sound of rebellion, then that's what it was.
All charismatic. You're all charismatic.
Well, I think we got on our own. I wrote that early '77. Just about the normal lusting of seeing somebody and suggesting that, you know, you spend some special time together. And it was just basically around 4 chords, which and that is the intro. And then during the verse, it's just spend longer on the chords doing it. I'd been watching the David Attenborough thing, but it was about this tribe somewhere, and they had this sort of this yodeling thing which they did with the voice. So but when it came to the chorus, get on our own. So instead of going get on our own, I've put in sort of this
Pete wrote about his relationships. I tended to write more kind of social things, what was going on around me. And one night we did an interview for a radio station in Chester, had a few drinks in the pub and missed the train. We booked a hotel and carried on drinking, even though we was very incoherent by that point. He was in one bed and I was in the other, and we had these pint pots there with us. And I'm going, you know, you with your fucking love songs, I'll write that, you know, I'll show you, I'll write a love song. And it was almost about turning the love song on him when love turns around you, you know.
Do you get when love turns around? Or hate is just a state in your mind. When you say that you love me, but some things are hard to find. When love turns around you.
What do you get when love turns around? The hate is just a state in your mind, you know. You say that you know me, but some things are hard to find when love turns around you. And then on the second verse, I put the state is just the hate in your mind, which would be my political view of things, you know.
Why do you forget when love turns around? The state is just the hate in your mind. When you say that you know me, but some things are easy to find. When love turns around you. When love turns around you.
Although your life is plain, lose as you win, it's all the same when love turns around you. When love turns around you. Are you and you and you and you and you and you, you and you and you and you and you, you and you and you and you and you, you and you and you and you and you.
The intro is meant to be sort of a piss take of a heavy metal type intro. The definition of heavy metal is a big beginning, big end, and something to keep them apart. So, so it starts like 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it descends into all sorts of nonsense. And then ends, and then just slowly starts. The idea for Noise and Noise, we were playing a gig, I think, at the Band on the Wall early on, and before the gig we went to a pub and somebody left a newspaper. And so I picked up the newspaper and it said, the headline read, Noise and Noise Neighbours. I went, Noise and Noise, oh, that sounds good. Because I always like things with good mouthfeel. It's always good if something feels good to say, you know, to say the words. So Noise and Noise, and I thought, well, Noise and Noise. And I thought, you know, your mum shouts and says, you know, turn that racket down, type thing. So that's been a thing. And I thought, well, who's the mother saying it to? And of course, it's all the boys and girls who are listening to loud music.
Pretty girls, pretty boys, have you ever heard your mom say, noise and noise?
Pretty girls, pretty boys, have you ever heard your mommy say, noise and noise? Pretty girls. So there's lots of like gaps in it as well, because then you get the silence.
Go!